Breaking news: global economic shift as European allies turn away from American brands. In a significant development, European consumers are leading what appears to be a worldwide rejection of American products and brands, potentially impacting U.S. employment and economic stability. The movement, gaining momentum from Paris to Vancouver, isn't manifesting through traditional protests. Instead, consumers are voting with their wallets and forming new trade agreements. For decades, American cultural dominance seemed unshakable. Whether in Tokyo or South Africa, familiar signs of Starbucks, McDonald's, or KFC were everywhere. However, this cultural landscape is undergoing transformation. The catalyst? Donald Trump's potential return to the White House has sparked concerns. His aggressive trade policies have created what analysts describe as an economic time bomb. The most alarming aspect is the growing distance from America's closest allies, Canada, Germany, France, and Japan. The numbers tell a sobering story. Foreign direct investment in the U.S. fell to $72.5 billion in the third quarter of 2024, a 23% decrease from the previous quarter. This follows a downward trend, with 2023 seeing only $150 billion in new foreign investment, down 28% from 2022. This isn't just about consumer products. Financial experts warn that the U.S. dollar could face pressure as global markets seek alternatives. The boycott movement, which started in Europe, has evolved into a worldwide trend. What's noteworthy is that this resistance isn't driven by government policies, but by grassroots consumer choices. Local businesses across Europe and Asia are seeing growth as customers seek alternatives to American brands. This shift represents a fundamental realignment of global economic power. We're witnessing what could be the most significant challenge to American economic dominance since World War II. The impact on American jobs, businesses, and international influence could be substantial and long-lasting. For more analysis and updates on this situation, stay tuned to our channel. Back to you in the studio. Here's a 1875 character news piece based on your input. Welcome back to our channel. Before we dive into today's story about America's quiet decline from global dominance, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the unprecedented events unfolding worldwide. Throughout the 20th century and early 2000s, the United States stood as a beacon of global admiration. It wasn't just a country, it was the dream itself. Young people from Asia to Europe wore Levi's jeans, lined up for the latest iPhones, watched Hollywood blockbusters, and dreamed of working in Silicon Valley. But in 2025, we're witnessing what future historians might call the beginning of the end of the American century. Surprisingly, this decline isn't due to war or economic collapse. It's a cultural rejection so massive it's almost hard to believe as it unfolds before our eyes. The U.S., long considered the lighthouse of culture, creativity, and consumerism, is being quietly but firmly pushed away by the very nations it once inspired. This isn't a temporary reaction or a trendy protest wave. It's a profound global shift in attitudes and identity. From Europe to the Middle East, from Asia to Latin America, countries aren't just trading partners anymore. They're becoming cultural rebels, turning their backs on the once coveted American dream. Take Starbucks, for example. It's facing boycotts and losing profits not because of quality or pricing, but as a conscious act of resistance. In South Korea, streaming platforms are prioritizing local dramas while limiting American content. Government grants actively support local content creation as part of cultural sovereignty policies. In Turkey and Malaysia, calls to boycott American goods have evolved from social media movements into official state campaigns. This cultural shift mirrors what we've seen in the case of the politically turbulent region bordering Russia, where local alternatives have increasingly replaced American influences. The world is watching as the U.S. faces unprecedented challenges to its cultural dominance, suggesting a fundamental transformation in global power dynamics. In a significant shift reshaping global commerce and culture, American brands face unprecedented challenges worldwide. Analysts report a transformation in how international consumers perceive U.S. products and cultural influences, marking what experts call a cultural deglobalization centered on America. The roots of this rejection trace to Trump's economic nationalism, triggering consequences beyond trade disputes. While tariffs targeted steel, aluminum, and Chinese electronics, their symbolic impact resonated globally, sparking a cultural backlash. China's response proved strategic. Beyond matching U.S. tariffs, Beijing invested billions in promoting its cultural influence abroad, a masterclass in soft power deployment. The results show in the declining dominance of American franchises overseas. Take Starbucks, once the epitome of global success. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, their cafes represented American comfort from Tokyo to San Francisco. Today, their market share in China shrinks against local competitors like Luckin Coffee, which has surpassed the American giant in both locations and growth. Perhaps most telling is the removal of Americana from menus across Europe and Latin America. Independent cafes in Spain and Argentina now offer Freedom or Espresso Nacional instead. These changes reflect a deeper shift. American culture is no longer viewed as neutral or aspirational but as a liability. Even in Italy, the birthplace of espresso, cafe owners in Milan and Florence are distancing themselves from American coffee culture. This trend extends beyond beverages. It's a broader rejection of American cultural hegemony, reshaping global consumer preferences and identities. This cultural shift coincides with decreased foreign investment in U.S. markets and growing support for local alternatives worldwide. The phenomenon suggests a restructuring of global cultural and economic relationships, with implications that could last generations. In a significant shift reshaping global cultural dynamics, we're witnessing what analysts call the Great American Rejection. Today's report focuses on how Generation Z is leading a worldwide movement away from American cultural dominance, with implications beyond consumer choices. In European capitals, coffee shops increasingly display signs stating, "No American coffee served," embracing authentic Italian traditions instead. This isn't just about taste preferences, it's a symbolic rejection of American cultural influence, particularly among younger consumers. Hollywood, once the undisputed king of global entertainment, faces unprecedented competition. In 2023, India's Pathaan outperformed several major Hollywood releases worldwide, while China's The Wandering Earth 2 surpassed Marvel films in domestic earnings and captured large audiences across Southeast Asia. The media landscape is experiencing similar tremors. Once authoritative American outlets like CNN and the New York Times are increasingly viewed with skepticism abroad. In Brazil and Egypt, these platforms are often labeled as biased, with local journalists gaining prominence. Social media giants aren't immune either. Facebook and Twitter face stricter regulations in multiple countries, while regional alternatives like China's WeChat and India's Ku gain traction. This shift mirrors the northern Black Sea region, where local platforms have challenged American social media dominance. The implications extend beyond business metrics. This cultural rejection signals a deeper transformation in global power dynamics. As one European market analyst notes, when you lose cultural influence, economic influence often follows. This trend suggests a future where American soft power may no longer be dominant. For American brands, this presents an unprecedented challenge. The question isn't just about losing market share. It's about adapting to a world where American cultural hegemony can't be taken for granted. This shift could fundamentally alter global trade patterns and international relations in coming decades. Good evening, viewers. Tonight's top story reveals a shocking decline in America's global standing, with former allies turning away from what was once the world's greatest superpower. Data from the Pew Research Center shows a dramatic shift in how young people view the United States. Only 54% of youth in G20 countries now hold positive opinions about America, down from 62% 9 years ago. Donald Trump's presidency has fundamentally altered how the world sees America. Two incidents showcase this transformation. First, the Canadian catastrophe. When Trump referred to Canada as the 51st state, it sparked outrage across our northern neighbor. Canadians saw it as a direct insult to their sovereignty and national identity. The Greenland debacle took things further. Trump's proposal to purchase Greenland from Denmark, followed by his cancellation of a diplomatic visit after being refused, created a diplomatic crisis. His description of Greenland's economy as weak and its territory as strategically valuable but otherwise empty offended both Danish and Greenlandic populations. The fallout was severe. When U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance visited Greenland, he faced complete isolation. No local authorities would meet with him. This wasn't just a snub to Vance. It was a rejection of American diplomacy. Meanwhile, Russia and China are stepping into the void left by America's declining influence. The BRICS alliance is gaining prominence, showing a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. This impacts trade, education, and ideological alignments worldwide. This transformation represents more than a temporary setback. It signals a profound change in how the world perceives American influence. The question now isn't if America's global standing will recover, but whether it can adapt to this new reality, where its dominance can't be taken for granted. Good evening, viewers. Tonight's top story reveals a seismic shift in global trade relations that's hitting American businesses hard. Our investigation shows how Trump's America First policy has backfired, turning into what many call America alone. What started as aggressive trade measures aimed at protecting American workers has sparked an international backlash. Key allies and trading partners, including Canada, the EU, China, Mexico, and Japan, have responded with retaliatory tariffs devastating U.S. exports. In France, American product sales have plummeted by 26% in 1 year. Canadian authorities struck back with tariffs on American steel, aluminum, and consumer goods. The European Union targeted iconic American products like whiskey, motorcycles, and blue jeans. This isn't just about economics anymore. We're witnessing a cultural rejection of American influence. Across Europe and Canada, consumers are actively boycotting U.S. products on principle. French supermarkets are pulling American snacks from shelves, replacing them with local alternatives. The Buy Local movement is gaining momentum. The damage to America's reputation as a reliable economic leader appears irreversible. Trump's America First slogan has been interpreted globally as America Only, destroying decades of built trust. International partners now view the U.S. as unpredictable and self-serving. Our sources indicate this shift goes beyond temporary market fluctuations. Many retailers are permanently removing American products, signaling a long-term change in consumer behavior. The emotional connection that once made American brands desirable has been damaged, particularly in nations feeling both economically and culturally insulted by recent U.S. policies. This combination of national pride injury and economic damage has created a perfect storm of anti-American sentiment in consumer markets. Experts suggest this trend could have lasting implications for U.S. global influence and trade relationships. Here's a 1875-character news report based on the provided content. In a significant shift that's reshaping global commerce, American exports are facing unprecedented resistance worldwide. Latest data from 2025 reveals a stark decline in U.S. consumer goods exports, down 11.5% to Canada, and an even steeper 12.5% drop to the European Union. Meanwhile, imports from Europe and Asia continue to surge, sending a clear message: the world is increasingly turning away from made-in-USA products. This rejection extends beyond consumer goods into the military sector, where American dominance once seemed unshakable. Take the F-35 fighter jet, a symbol of U.S. military might. While traditional allies like Poland and Japan maintain their orders, others are backing away. Portugal has canceled its F-35 contract, explicitly citing distrust in Trump's policies. Swiss public opinion has turned strongly against a major F-35 deal, with citizens expressing concerns about being drawn into U.S.-initiated conflicts. The commercial resistance is equally dramatic. Danish supermarkets now prominently display Buy Local signs. French consumers have embraced domestic fashion brands over American alternatives. But perhaps the most striking response came from Canada, where the provincial alcohol monopolist LCBO removed over 3,600 American products from its shelves, a billion-dollar revenue stream, without explanation or apology. In Denmark, public outrage over Trump's attempt to purchase Greenland has transformed into a broader rejection of American goods. The movement has gone digital, with hashtags like #BOYCOTTS USA, Goodbye Made in America, and Not From My Wallet gaining traction across TikTok, Instagram, and local European social platforms. This isn't just virtual protest. Consumers are actively deleting American apps and seeking alternatives. The trend suggests a deeper cultural shift away from American influence, as Europeans increasingly prioritize local products and services. Economic analysts note this movement could have lasting implications for U.S. global market position and cultural dominance. In a dramatic shift reshaping global consumer behavior, we're witnessing a digital revolt against American brands. Shoppers worldwide use smartphones to scan barcodes, avoiding American-made goods in favor of local alternatives. This isn't a traditional boycott. It's a tech-savvy movement spreading through digital networks. The implications are concerning for U.S. business interests. Decades of carefully crafted brand imagery through Hollywood, Coca-Cola, Apple, and McDonald's are unraveling rapidly. What once represented the American dream has transformed into something different in the global consciousness. These iconic American brands, which previously symbolized success and aspiration, are now associated with environmental damage, inequality, and cultural arrogance. It's a reversal few could have predicted. The movement mirrors developments in the northern Black Sea region, where local alternatives have gained market share against American products. This pattern is repeating across Europe and Asia. The bigger question isn't just about market share or profits. We're looking at a fundamental shift in global cultural dynamics. When a superpower loses not just customers, but cultural currency, we're witnessing a historic transformation. The question isn't whether America can rebuild its image, it's whether the world wants that image restored. Early indicators suggest growing resistance to American influence, with regions seeking alternatives to what was once the default choice. This trend appears strong among younger consumers, who show less attachment to American brands than their parents. They're leading a charge toward locally sourced, environmentally conscious alternatives. For investors and business leaders, the writing is clear. We're entering an era where American cultural dominance can't be taken for granted. The implications extend beyond commercial interests, potentially reshaping global power dynamics for decades. Stay tuned for more analysis of these global shifts that mainstream media often overlooks. Subscribe for updates on these developing trends reshaping our world.